What's going on, guys? Welcome back to a Jangz Reacts video. Yes, it has been a long time, but hey, we're back here. I just wanted to do something really sort of special, something close to me, something close to my family. Basically, I'm going to watch this video. It's my own video that I've put on YouTube. I think my nan owns it at the moment, but basically it's my great-grandmother talking about her upbringing, the stuff that she had to do. It's only a short clip. I think it was done by 9 News or something like that. But yeah, it's just like a little short clip, and I'm sure some of my family members that might see this will be really happy to see it because they might not have seen it for a long time. And yeah, so I thought, hey, let's do a bit of a reaction on this. So here we go. We're gonna jump over to our clip right here, and let's check it out.
Warringah Aboriginal Mission on the Darlington Point property of Jeff and Margaret King. Mrs. Edwards found the place much changed, of course, and she spent a couple of hours just exploring and naturally answering questions from all sides.
So this was the reporter. Basically, not long ago, me and my grandmother, Heather Edwards, we just went and visited this lady, actually. Yeah, we went and visited her at her house where she lives and sat down and had a nice big long conversation with her. It was really, really nice. And yeah, so we'll keep going. And the next person you see will be NANNA BELL. So that's my grandmother, or my dad's grandmother, or my grandmother's mother. Yeah, a lot of people always said she was a really hard, stern woman. But from what I can remember, I was only 5 when she passed, but from what I can remember, she was like the loveliest old lady, like just the loveliest. But a lot of people say she was very harsh and, I mean, nice, but stern, and always did things the right way. And yeah, so let's keep going.
Isabel Edwards was born at Warringah Aboriginal Mission in 1909, the 4th child of William Murray and Mary Jane Stark. All that remains today is the manager's residence, the school, the butcher's shop and the dormitory.
So I'm cutting that off just real quick, but basically, if you know anything about from where, like anywhere I come from, there's a town called Darlington Point. That's like my hometown, and just about a kilometre or 2 outside is there's this old mission. It's now owned, like they said, by this family, but like it's on their property, but it's basically where all the Aboriginal people used to live, the Warringah Mission. And from what I understand, it wasn't as bad as a lot of other places that were out there, like a lot of other places that people live. So we got pretty lucky, but anyway, we'll keep listening.
2 streets of houses, and there was the manager's house, a dormitory, and beside that there was a butcher shop and the store.
So it was basically like a little town, like you said, there was 2 streets of houses. I mean, I'm not 100% sure on how long the streets were, but there was 2 streets of houses, a dormitory, a butcher shop, and a general store, like just a store. So it was just like a little town, like where like basically all my relatives grew up and lived.
And 2 of the houses, 2 of the cottages, the people had a small fruit shop on the end of the verandas, so built on the end of the verandas. It was really little township.
So a lot of these places now that you're seeing on screen they're not there anymore. I think that place there, I believe that was the dormitory, and that actually got struck by lightning a number of years ago and burnt down, and there might only be like 1 building standing there now out of 2 rows of houses, butcher shop, all this other stuff. I mean, now it's looked at as this heritage site type thing, but back, 100 years ago, well, not 100 years ago, but 40, 50, 60 years ago, people didn't think about preserving that type of stuff. But yeah, it would have been really, really cool to see what it was like back then. So yeah, it's basically one house, one little thing now, I think, and nothing else. Just, yeah. But anyway, let's go.
To drive from Eden around in Washington to the doctor. There was no Griffith then when I first remember.
So there was no Griffith back then?
To Narrandera. At first, doctor used to come from Narrandera once a month and everybody could go and see him. But if you got sick in between, you had to drive yourself.
So I remember from like conversations I've had with my grandmother about this video where she said, when Nana Bell says, you know, the doctor would come once a month from Narrandera on horse and cart and everyone would go see him then. But if you got sick in the meantime, you had to try and get there yourself. So if you didn't have a horse and cart or anything like that, you were either walking or you were suffering until the doctor got there the next month. So, I mean, I'm glad times have changed, but yeah, it would have been hard back then.
Mrs. Edwards has never lived more than a few miles from Warringezda, and her grandfather, Jimmy Murray, was just as reluctant to leave the point.
Mr. Gribble was going over to see Queen Victoria, to see if we could get some land for the dark people around here.
So it's funny how, like, language has changed. So, like, Nana Bell is obviously using the terminology that she would have grown up with, like dark people and things like that. But, I mean, like Nana Bell, she's Aboriginal. I mean, she's the same type of, like, light skin as me, but my grandmother and my father are really, really dark skinned. So if you know me and you know my family, yeah, you know how weird it is. But, like, it seems so weird, like, that you'd have to get on a boat, go overseas to the Queen to try to get land for people back in Australia. Like, it's so not what it's like today.
And he was taking Grandfather with him. And Grandfather was all ready to go until he got to Sydney. And they got in, they were in the booking office. He said Mr. Gribble was buying the tickets, and he said, oh, just a minute, Mr. Gribble, please. And he said, what is it, Jimmy? He said, how long before we see land? He said, 3 months. Well, he said, don't buy my ticket. He said, I'm going home.
Oh, I miss Nana Bell. The little laugh at the end, that's funny. If you know, like, any of my, or you know my grandmother, you know my aunties or my great aunties and uncles, a lot of them have that same laugh, that same giggle. Like Nan now, as she's getting older, like my grandmother's 82 now, she sits there and talks about like something. She'll say, oh yeah, you know, or da 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 da, you know, like she'll just say, you know, a lot. And when I watch this back and I see my great grandmother talk, I can see where Nan got it from, you know.
So Grandfather went home.
Mrs. Edwards' father, William Murray, was a pioneer activist at a time when Aboriginals were expected to take a passive role.
He felt they should stand up for themselves too. And he did. He used to write to Parliament. He wrote to Parliament years ago, he used to, for equal rights, he said, for the black fellow. The black man couldn't go in the pub and have a drink then, you know. Yeah. And he started all that, him and another chap here. And I said, he didn't live to see it.
Bill Murray was also one of...
See, that's so, like, in that area, so, like, my great-great-great-grandfather, or some, whatever it is, was one of the pioneer people, to get, or to try to fight for equal rights for Aboriginal people. And I'll continue. I'll watch the rest of the video, then I'll tell you a few things that that I've been told, not that I remember, but that I've been told of from my grandmother.
The first Aboriginal people to defy the Aboriginal Protection Society. The practice of taking Aboriginal children from their parents was widespread in those days, with officials claiming and believing that children from Aboriginal families could be better cared for by the society.
They wanted to take us, me, my 2 sisters. And this old Donaldson came and told Mum to have us ready in the morning, 9 o'clock. See, the men had all gone to work then out the road. They only used to bully rag the women. And so Mum said, no, you can't take it. He said, yes, I am. She said, what for? Well, he said, the dark people don't think as much of the children as white people. And Mum said, I'm afraid you're mistaken. Well, he said, have them ready in the morning, 9 o'clock. So she waited till Dad come home and told him. He said, just let him come around 9 o'clock in the morning. And that was Donaldson, I was telling him that paper. He came along and he said, you got the children ready, Mrs. Murray? And she said, no, I haven't. Well, he said, you want to hurry? He was bustling around there, and he said, because we're taking them. And my dad come out of the bedroom, he said, you get out that door.
So that's a nice way of talking about what I've been told has happened. So like everything sort of seems run of the mill for like stolen generation stuff. That's pretty much the end of the video too, but that's run of the mill stuff. So Nana Bell told my grandmother, my nan, and her siblings that when he actually come around, or like they come around, they told them that, you know, we're coming back tomorrow to take the kids and, you know, have them ready. So, but then when like my great-great-grandfather got home, my great-great-grandmother told him about it all. And then so he went and said, well, I'm not going to work tomorrow. I'm going to stay home and wait for him. So like Nana Bell said, when he walked in the door, I said, you know, you got the kids ready, and he walked out and said, get out of here. That's a very tame version of what I heard. What I heard was he come out with a gun and said, you know, you want to take my kids, then, you know, I'll put a hole in you type of thing. So they left, and surprisingly and luckily, none of that ever ended up coming to fruition. So they were kind of kept, like my family was kept on the mission and grew up in Darlington Point and things like that. So yeah, it's interesting to see how lucky we were in that situation. But yeah, let's switch back here real quick. So in thinking about everything, I might do a few more videos like this where I've talked to my grandmother and that. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. And if you got any questions about this stuff, feel free to ask me. I'll ask my grandmother, and we'll go from there. But yeah, thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the next one. Peace.